My brother told my fiancé I had a secret child. It was a lie. My wedding was cancelled. I was humiliated. Years later, he applied for a job at a company I quietly co-founded. I sat on the hiring panel. When he walked in, his smile dropped. I said, "Do you believe in second chances?" He nodded. I slid a folder across the table. Inside was the email he thought he'd deleted. Then I looked him in the eyes and said, "I'm Camille. I used to trust people too easily, especially family. That's something I had to learn the hard way. I'm from Aurora, Illinois. Not a big place, not tiny either. One of those cities where people recognize you at the grocery store and remember what high school you went to. I was always the quiet one growing up, while my older brother Drew was the loud, charming, can't do anything wrong type. He got away with everything. Our parents didn't pay much attention to either of us, but they especially ignored me once Drew came into the room. As a kid, I never thought much about it. I figured that's just how things were. I did my homework, stayed out of trouble, and eventually left home for college in Champaign. Drew flunked out of community college and bounced from job to job. I always assumed he'd figure it out. That he just needed time. I finished school, got into digital marketing, and found work with a firm in Naperville. That's where my adult life started. That's where I met Alex. Alex was everything Drew wasn't. Steady. Thoughtful. He worked in finance, owned a condo, didn't get blackout drunk or disappear for days. He listened when I talked. I fell for him quick, and after 2 years, we got engaged. We planned a wedding just outside Rockford. It wasn't a huge deal, but it meant everything to me. My dress was simple, my guest list small. I only invited people I truly cared about. Including Drew. That was the mistake. 3 days before the wedding, I got a call from Alex. His voice didn't sound right. It was shaky, like he was trying not to cry. "I can't do this," he said. "What do you mean?" I found out. About the baby. "What baby?" He went silent. Then he said, "The one you had when you were 19. The one you gave up. Why didn't you tell me?" My body went cold. I literally felt like I left my own skin. My knees gave out and I sat on the floor of my apartment. "Alex," I said slowly, "I've never had a baby." He didn't believe me. Drew told me everything. He showed me the records. "What records?" He didn't answer. Just said he needed space. Then he hung up. He blocked me. It all crumbled. I tried calling his mom, his sister, even a couple of his groomsmen. No one would talk. The wedding was called off within 48 hours. I had to email and call guests and vendors and explain that it wasn't happening. People asked questions. Some said they were sorry. Others just disappeared. A few looked at me like I was a liar. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Jamie, my best friend since 8th grade, came to stay with me. She dropped everything and flew in. She was the only one who believed me without needing proof. She held me while I cried on the kitchen floor. She answered my phone for me. She called the florist and the caterer and told them I wouldn't be needing anything. Then, 3 days later, she knocked on my bedroom door and told me she'd found something. "Sit down," she said. She held up her phone and showed me an email. I felt sick before I even finished reading the subject line. It was from Drew. Sent to Alex. The subject said, "Something you deserve to know before you say I do." He wrote that I had gotten pregnant in college, had the baby, and gave it up for adoption. He said I never told anyone. That I'd been lying to Alex for 2 years. He attached a fake birth certificate and a photo of a random baby. Jamie did a reverse image search. It came from a parenting blog in 2014. It was all fake. I went numb. I didn't cry this time. I didn't scream. I just felt empty. I called Drew. He picked up and said, "Oh. That. He said he was just testing Alex. Said if he really loved me, a secret baby shouldn't matter. I asked him if he was out of his mind. If he realized what he'd done. He laughed. Actually laughed. I told him I never wanted to see him again. And I meant it. 3 years went by. I left Naperville. Moved to Milwaukee. Started a business with 2 colleagues, quietly. We didn't make a big deal out of it, didn't put our names all over the place. We called it Blue Forge Partners and built something from the ground up. We did well. We worked long hours, made good money, and hired smart people. I didn't talk about Drew. I didn't talk about the wedding. But I saved that email. Jamie made sure of that. She backed it up on 3 drives, printed it, and even had the metadata verified. She said, "One day, you'll want this." She was right. Because last month, our HR director forwarded me a resume. Subject line, candidate for strategy role, Andrew, redacted. I stared at the name. I opened the resume. It was him. He had no idea I was behind the company. Our names weren't on the website. I hadn't even updated my LinkedIn since the firm launched. He applied blind. I emailed HR and asked to be on the interview panel. I didn't say why. The morning of the interview, I dressed like I used to before I became a boss, clean but simple. I didn't want him to recognize me right away. He walked into the room, smiling like he owned the place. Then he saw me. His smile died. He sat down slowly. Didn't say a word. I looked straight at him. "Do you believe in second chances?" He nodded like a kid caught stealing. I slid a folder across the table. Inside, the printed email, the photo, the source link to the parenting blog, metadata logs, and a letter from a lawyer friend of mine verifying the contents. He didn't open it. "Do you remember this?" I asked. He said nothing. "I do." Then I stood up. "You won't be getting this job," I said. "But now you know how it feels." I left him sitting there. A week after the interview, I thought maybe that was it. Maybe I had closed the book. I didn't want revenge that night, I just wanted him to see me. See what he'd done. Feel a sliver of what I felt 3 years ago. But Drew doesn't let things go. And he definitely didn't let that go. I was in the office late one Thursday. Most of the team had left, and I was sorting out strategy decks for a client meeting. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then it buzzed again. And again. Same number. On the 5th call, I picked up. "You think you're better than me now?" Drew said. I almost hung up. "You humiliated me," he said. In front of 2 strangers, in some fancy office. I stayed quiet. I needed that job. I said, I needed a wedding that didn't get burned down by a lie. He started yelling. Said I'd ruined his life. Said he couldn't get another interview now because I probably blacklisted him. I hadn't. I told him not to call me again and hung up. But that wasn't the end. That weekend, Jamie texted me, "Hey, your brother's posting weird stuff online." I opened Facebook. Drew had written a long rant. Claimed a certain family member cost him a job. Said she lied about being innocent and that she was manipulative and dangerous. He didn't name me, but he didn't have to. People knew. And he tagged one of my old coworkers from Naperville. A guy named Brent who always had a thing for office drama. The post started getting traction. His friends commented. Some of my old acquaintances joined in. It got uglier. That's when my business partner, Mia, called. She was calm, but I could tell she was worried. "Someone emailed the company," she said. "They linked Drew's post. They're asking if it's true." It was a prospective client. I felt like the walls were closing in. We were a small firm. Our reputation mattered. We worked off referrals, relationships, clean records. I told Mia everything. Not just the interview. The fake email. The wedding. All of it. She didn't even flinch. "We fix this," she said. "Legally. We called a lawyer. She sent Drew a cease and desist letter the next day. But Drew didn't stop. He switched platforms. Started posting on Reddit. Claimed to be blowing the whistle on a toxic exec. Again, no names. But he included fake screenshots that looked like internal emails. He was trying to ruin me. I thought I could take it. Until someone showed up outside our office. A man. Mid-30s. Didn't say his name. Said he was looking into the company. Said he heard some things. Security escorted him out, but the message was clear. Drew wasn't done. That's when I realized something. He wanted to drag me down not just because I embarrassed him, but because he couldn't stand that I built something. That I survived what he did and came out stronger. I decided I was done playing defense. This time, I'd be the one taking control. I thought I was ready to fight back, but I underestimated how far Drew was willing to go. The Reddit posts weren't going viral, but they were gaining attention in the small business circles we operated in. Especially the local Milwaukee business subreddit. A few users started speculating about Blue Forge. About me. He posted another thread titled, "The Truth About the Marketing Exec Who Tried to Destroy My Life." Again, he didn't use names. But he included enough hints, location, timing, job titles, that anyone who knew me could put it together. Some people even started DMing me, asking, "Is this about you?" I stayed quiet. Our lawyer sent Reddit a takedown request. It was processed, but by then the damage was already seeping into real life. One of our junior employees, Maya, pulled me aside in the hallway. "Is all that stuff true?" she asked, looking down, nervous. Because some people in the office are starting to wonder. That hit harder than I expected. I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. My company. My team. My reputation. Everything I'd built was being tested because of a lie Drew told years ago, and was now doubling down on. So I made a decision. I called a private investigator. Her name was Rhonda. She was retired law enforcement, didn't smile much, but within a week she had everything. Drew was in debt. Serious debt. Maxed credit cards, payday loans, a bounced rent check from his apartment in Elgin. He hadn't just needed that job, he was desperate. But there was something else. Rhonda found out he was using an alias to freelance online. Offering consulting services to small businesses. Some of his clients were people who'd left our company in the past year. One of them had even forwarded Drew a client pitch deck we'd been working on. Confidential stuff. That's when it hit me. He was trying to sabotage us from the inside. He wasn't just lying online. He was using whatever scraps he could get to hurt my business. I brought the proof to Mia and our third partner, Alex, not the ex-fiancé, different guy. We locked down access, reached out to everyone Drew had talked to, and made sure no one else leaked anything. Then we filed a formal complaint. Our lawyer sent a demand letter with all the evidence. Fraud. Harassment. Intentional defamation. Theft of confidential materials. We gave him 72 hours to respond. Instead, Drew disappeared. Phone disconnected. Social media wiped. Gone. For a moment, I thought he was running scared. Then I got an email from a blocked address. No body, just a subject line. Hope you're ready. You made this war. Attached was a file. Inside was a video. Old footage. From my college dorm. Me, drunk, laughing, falling off a couch. Someone had recorded it on their phone back then. I hadn't seen it in years. It was harmless. But he added subtitles. Fake ones. Made it look like I was admitting to something. Made it look like I was talking about a baby. It was doctored. The audio didn't match. But to someone not paying attention, it looked real. That was the moment I knew. Drew wasn't just desperate. He was unraveling. And I wasn't going to wait around anymore. It was time to finish this, for good. After the video, I knew I had to go all the way. Drew wasn't going to stop. Not until I was destroyed. And honestly, I was tired of waiting for him to make the next move. I showed the video to Rhonda, the private investigator. She leaned back in her chair and said, "All right. Let's end this." She had an idea. Something legal, clean, and brutal. We were going to hit him where it really hurt, not just his pride. His future. Rhonda started digging deeper into Drew's alias accounts. She traced payments, IP addresses, and client communication. And what she found was worse than we expected. Drew had taken thousands of dollars from small businesses, promising marketing work he never delivered. Some of those companies had complained on freelancer platforms, but Drew always disappeared and reopened under a new name. We collected everything. Every complaint, every invoice, every message. Rhonda had it all mapped out. Then she found something else. One of the clients Drew defrauded was a veteran-owned startup in Madison. He took $5,000 up front, sent them plagiarized content, and ghosted. The owner, a guy named Jeremy, had already reported it to the Wisconsin Department of Consumer Protection, but nothing came of it. That's when I stepped in. I called Jeremy. I told him who I was. I told him what Drew had done to me and what he was still doing. I offered to help him file a joint case. I also told him we had a lawyer and a PI, and we were going to make sure Drew never conned anyone again. Jeremy agreed. Then I found 5 more small businesses that Drew had scammed under fake names. We gathered them all. Put together one massive case file. Submitted everything to the state attorney's office and the Better Business Bureau. Our lawyer filed a formal fraud and harassment suit. And then, the final piece, we sent the file to every platform Drew used under his aliases, Upwork, Fiverr, LinkedIn, and every job site he ever applied through. They banned him. All of them. He lost every single stream of income. But I wasn't done. I took the video he sent, the one with the fake subtitles, and hired a forensic video expert. We had it analyzed frame by frame. The expert wrote a full report showing how the audio was doctored and manipulated. Then I posted it. I made a video. Just me, sitting at my desk. I told the whole story. From the fake baby lie to the wedding that never happened. I showed screenshots, records, legal letters, and the report from the video expert. I explained exactly what Drew had done, and how we proved it all was fake. I didn't say his name. But people figured it out. The post went viral. Drew's old friends, exes, and even former bosses saw it. Some of them commented. Others messaged me privately and said, "I always knew something was off about him." Even our old high school guidance counselor emailed me, "I'm proud of you for standing up." But the real ending came 2 weeks later. I got an email from an old burner address. It was Drew. No threats. No lies. Just this: "You win. I'm leaving Illinois. You'll never hear from me again." And he was right. He vanished. But karma wasn't finished with him. Months later, Jamie texted me again. "You're not gonna believe this." She sent me a link to a local news story. Man arrested in Texas for online freelance fraud. It was Drew. He'd moved south and tried the same scam again. But this time, someone recognized the patterns and tipped off police. He was facing charges. Real ones. He'd been denied bail. The final punch? I got a letter 6 months later. A formal apology. Part of his plea deal. It wasn't sincere. I could tell. But I framed it anyway. It hangs on my office wall. Not because I forgive him. But because I survived him. He tried to break me. He cost me a wedding, my peace, my trust in people. But I rebuilt everything, stronger. And the next time someone walks into my life pretending to care, they won't make it past the door.